All right, 5 minutes on the clock for you, jabroni. As soon as it goes up, we then go to the tweets. Let me wait, see the clock. There we go. Hit it, boys. And we'll get it done. All right. Clock is ticking. There we go. So, Luke and Danny, it seems that March was a very prolific KO month in the UFC. Who do you think will benefit the most in terms on getting the UFC machinery behind them? For me, it's my boy, a.k.a. Masvidal. Masvidal's got that fight with Askren coming up, so that'll be a big deal. Probably Masvidal made the biggest one, but, I mean, you want to talk about a major change in the career of Anthony Pettis. He needed that win bad, and, boy, it is big. The one for Gaethje should be as big, but it probably won't be. But there you go. Next. All right, how much does Eddie Alvarez's loss affect his legacy? His legacy, probably not a lot. The fact that it was a back-to-back loss, as I mentioned, is a bit of a problem, but I don't think it changes his legacy exactly, especially if he comes back and roars in his next performance. So we'll see. Next. It's a quality show. Thank you and the crew for the efforts. Yeah, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Next. What did you think of the decision win Casey Kenny got over Ray Borg? It was an exciting fight with lots of scrambles, and I do think Borg did enough to get the W. Who would you like to see Kenny fight next? Oh, here's the thing. I thought Borg won that as well. I can see a scorecard, 29-28 for Kenny. The 30-27 I don't really get. And I understand Kenny's point. It's like he didn't do anything but get the takedown and hold me. It's like, okay, some of the better striking definitely came from Kenny, but Borg got a lot of takedowns, had a lot of control time, escaped a lot of bad positions, was kind of initiating a lot of scrambles, trying to go for the back. I kind of thought he deserved the W. So who should be next for Kenny? I mean, next in line. I don't have anyone in particular, but I don't think it's a travesty that Kenny won. Don't misunderstand me. It's a 29-28 is a defensible scorecard, but 30-27 is not, and you got to feel bad for Ray Borg given everything he's been through. Next. Okay, after the Michelle Waterson victory, both Anik and Olivi asked her about going to Brazil to see Namajunas versus Andrade. Is it fair to take that as Waterson has the UFC's blessing to be the next challenger? Remember, she's rep by WME IMG, so they probably would want to put her in a position. By the way, I thought Michelle Waterson looked awesome as a fighter on Saturday night. I really thought that was a complete and just a really strong, veteran, prepared, well-rounded performance. I really, really, really appreciated what she was able to turn in on Saturday. And yeah, dude, they signed her like WME reps her. Like, yeah, they're gonna look. This game is not necessarily the fairest one. Now, you could make an argument based on her wins that she should be there, but the reality is also this: in life, it is who you know. Well, she knows the people that own the company because they rep her. Next. How did you get your beer so fluffy? This company called Cremo. Put it in your beer, donks. Your beer doesn't have natural oils like they do on your scalp. You got to put it in there. So there you go. Next. Let's see. Is Justin Gaethje the most exciting fighter on the most consistent basis? I don't see how anybody could possibly argue against that. I don't see how that's even debatable. Absolutely 1,000% yes. If I had to ask you to pick one fighter against any other opponent who you could reasonably rely upon to be exciting, would you pick anybody else? Next. Pettis mentioned in his post-fight wanting the winner of this past weekend's fight. How do you think he matches up with Gaethje? Do you think that will happen, or will they match Pettis and Gaethje up with others? Well, Pettis is up a division, so I don't know how that's going to work. Certainly, I know he wanted the rematch against Edson to get the win because he wants the same one against RDA, is what he told me last week. Against Gaethje, it's like, I don't know, man. Pettis has been in a lot of wars, and that's a tough fight for anybody. That's a really tough fight for anybody. If I'm Pettis, I'm going to say don't take that fight. You got a good thing going at welterweight. Ride that out, and then come back to lightweight when everything's sorted out. So that's what I would say. And I would match up Pettis with, I don't know, somebody, again, he beat the number 3 or 4 guy, so let's see where they puts him in the rankings, 5-ish, 6-ish, depending on how they put him, and then match him around there. Next. Are you noticing McGregor fatigue amongst MMA fans, journalists, as it relates to his behavior? Dog, I've been had McGregor fatigue. Personally, it's affecting me because I feel there's more substantial discussions to be had about active fighters. Yeah, I mean, chiming in all the time from the sidelines like that. He's not the only one that does it too. I love Nate Diaz, but Nate Diaz does it as well. And you're constantly inactive. And then for McGregor, he's got these law enforcement issues, whatever you want to call them, and he hasn't won in a while. Like, yeah, there are people who are kind of checking out on him a little bit. I think that's true. Next. Are fans underestimating the skills of fighters in one championship? Yes and no. There is no possible way to say that one's fighters are even close to as good as the UFC's fighters in aggregate. But the guy that Eddie Alvarez fought, there's a good argument to make that he was very underrated. Shouts to Kaposa, Grabaka Hitman on Twitter. If you guys don't follow him, you should be. He's just a fan, but he's as knowledgeable, if not more, than any media person who does this professionally. And he was saying before the fight, he was like, this is closer than people think. Keep your eye out for this guy. He was absolutely right. He called it, and he at least had an awareness about what this all meant. And so, look, do not overstate things. One has eons to go before they're even close, roster to roster. But can, in a division like 155, where everyone is good across the world in those weight classes, right? It's the deepest weight class. So if I go to Russia, they've got good 155ers. If I go to Canada, they got good 155ers. If I go to Brazil, they've got good 155ers. It's that good of a division. So in individual circumstances, yes, it can be possible. You can find diamonds in the rough like that. It's still the rough.